What we're going to do in this video is talk about advanced charts. What are they? How do you find them? How can you set them up? And how do you get the best from the advanced charting? Advanced charts can either be floating windows that will allow you to look around, examine and participate and create interesting views of the market, or they can be docked in areas such as the enhanced ladder. But this video is all about how to use advanced charts, set them up and get the best from them.
If you want instant access to new videos as they're uploaded, then please click on the subscribe button. Also, don't forget to comment on the videos, and if you're interested in learning more about BetAngel, visit betangel.com today and download a free trial.
So advanced charts is something that I use a lot with inside BetAngel, and that's because they give me a really nice view of the market. They give me information that I can glance at and understand very easily. And the great thing about the advanced charts on BetAngel is you can do a lot with them. Not only can you have an advanced chart, but you can zoom and pan around the chart. That can teach you what's going on within the market, or allow you to actually reappraise an entry point that you made. But also it's essentially about displaying quality information on what's actually going on in the underlying trading market. I tend to use advanced charts where there's a lot of price movement in the market. If you look at some particular sports, you don't tend to get a lot of price movement, and in play it's all related to what's going on within the event itself. So it's predominantly a pre-off medium of trading is where you typically use advanced charts. But that said, I've seen people use them in all manner of different ways, so it's up to you how you wish to use the advanced charting. But the most important thing to start with is to find them. So when you look at BetAngel, you can actually find them here. This is the advanced chart icon. You can see that on the one-click screen. Or if you go to the ladder, you can see the same icon on there. If you have the enhanced ladder option on, then an advanced chart will appear on the right-hand side if you have it set up to do so. But typically you would tend to access an advanced chart by clicking an icon. So that's what we'll do. We will click on an icon. You can see it's immediately brought up a chart. You may or may not want to use the default chart within there. You can see I've selected the one called New Ladder. But what I'm going to do for you is create an advanced chart from scratch so that you can fully understand all of the components that go into creating an advanced chart. And in order to do that, you click on the chart settings option, which is available up here. Now you can see the box has appeared behind the chart. Sometimes that may happen, so we're just going to move the chart over here, and we're going to have the advanced chart settings set up just below it. And then we can actually go in and edit the individual settings in there, and you'll see what's happening reflected on the chart on the right. To make things a little bit easier and cleaner for you, what I'm going to do is minimize BetAngel. So to do that, we're just going to use the minimize option, and that will get rid of all the gumph that's going on in the background. If I just realign this chart slightly, then this will give you the ability to see what we're doing on the chart as we amend it over here. So that is how I suggest you learn how to create the charts and so on and so forth. But because the market is a slow market at the moment, we're a long way off, there's not much information that's going on, and therefore the chart may look a bit messy, but nonetheless it will give us the ability to be able to create and all of the key components, and then we can put it into a live market and we can see what it begins to look like. So let me go down and explain how we would create a live chart. So one of the first things that I recommend that you do is to go in and edit an existing chart. There's quite a few charts that we supply with inside BetAngel, so I suggest that you click on one of those and start editing that chart so that you can actually get a handle on exactly how you're influencing the chart that you see on the right. Now when you're in the settings editor, that's where you create these views. The chart will allow you to actually view what you've created, so it's important to understand what you're looking at over here. The first thing is that you can actually change the selection that you're looking at from this option. We've already explained this in another video, but you can actually change what that chart is actually pointing to and how it points to it. Watch the charting video independently if you want to understand how that works. What we're more interested in is creating charts here. So you can see this is the list of charts that we have available to us within the Advanced Chart Settings tool, And this menu here will allow you to select it. So you can see all of these are replicated up here. So on the left you have the editing, and on the right we have the display here. Now of course you can move this ladder around, you can move this chart around and put it in other areas, but the reason I've put them side by side here is just so you can get a complete understanding of exactly what you're looking at. You can spawn as many charts as you wish to do, as many as your machine will cope with. But essentially each one of those can have a different view. So if you wanted 20 different charts on 20 different runners displaying 20 different characteristics, you could do that. So we could actually have this looking at the candle. We could spawn another one that is looking at different indicators. So if you want 13 different charts on one runner, you can do that. And of course you can minimize, shrink, expand, make them as big or as small as you wish, and position them anywhere on the screen. And when you've done that, what you can actually do is then save that as a setting. So you've got complete control over how many charts you've got, what they're pointing at, the type of chart that you're looking at, and how many of them you have displayed and where on the screen. Once you've done that, you can save that as a setting to return to at some later point. So let us create an advanced chart. I suggest that the best place to start is to actually edit an existing chart, because if you do that you'll be able to see what changes it's making. So we're not fussed about which selection this is on, we're pointing it to a market, but what we will do up here is we will select one of these. So I will select the first one on the list basically. If I go over to the settings editor, I can select that one as well. Now because we've got these charts in here already, you probably don't want to overwrite or modify these. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy that chart setting. There you go. And then if we save that, then what you will actually see, I'm looking for it on here and I can't, here it is, just down here, is the chart that we've just copied. So I will rename this and I will call this Peter's messing about a bit chart. And I will save that, and there you can see the chart is available at the bottom. But you'll notice on this chart here, obviously it's still pointing to this one that we selected up here, so we need to go up to the box here, move down towards the bottom and select Peter's messing about a bit chart. There we go. So let's remove a component. That's an easy thing to do. We can begin to understand how to do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the MACD at the bottom here, which is the bit that you can see here, and I can just get rid of that. And you'll notice that that hasn't changed over here, and that is because we haven't saved the chart. So if you're messing around, you need to save the chart in order to change the behavior of the chart. So there you go, you can see that MACD has been eliminated. So here we've got weight of money, here we've got volume, and here we've got a price plot. So let's move some of this around. So let's say that we actually want the volume down at the bottom here. What I can actually do is change the order of the chart just by doing that. And again we will click save, and there you go, we now have volume at the bottom of the chart, weight of money, and the price activity. Now obviously this market isn't a market that's doing much at the moment, so there is no price activity, but nonetheless you would tend to choose a market where there isn't much going on so that you can mess around with the charts. I'll explain some of the information that we see on here as well. So if we look at the x-axis, the x-axis is the axis that runs across the bottom. So we're saying the horizontal line of the chart is the x-axis. So you can see here we're saying the interval is 1 second, so that means every single plot on this chart is done at 1 second intervals. There's no need for you to use 1 second. You could actually have it at 1 tick, 2 a second, 1 every 1 second, every 2 seconds, every 5, 10, you know, and so on, every 10 minutes if you so wish. So it's up to you, depending upon what you're trying to plot, how you want to choose to do that setting. And also bear in mind that sometimes you can get really good information from long-term charts and short-terms. Remember, you can display both those charts simultaneously on the same runner on BetAngel on the advanced charting. So why not have a slow updating chart and a fast updating chart? That's a little trick you may want to look at. On the width here, this is describing this plot area across here. So at the moment it's 50 data points, so it's saying it's got 50 seconds worth of information in here. If I change this width to 120 and we save it, then what this is now doing is it's plotting 2 minutes worth of activity across this entire chart. So you can have that at 1 minute, which would be 60 seconds, 2 minutes would be 120, and 3 minutes would be 180. So it's up to you how many minutes you wish to plot. Now, if you're plotting a limited data set, say 60 seconds or something like that, you don't actually have to particularly worry about the width of the chart. It's just how much is it plotting, because BetAngel collects data all the time. As long as you have this in an active market or in Guardian, it's collecting data all the time. So you can have it on a 60-second data plot, but you can actually zoom backwards and forwards. So this is a display parameter. It's not a limit of the ability of the chart, because data is being collected all the time by BetAngel. And if we want to, we can zoom in and out of that data, thereby affecting exactly what we're seeing on the screen. So this 120 data points is just a display parameter. It's not limiting the amount of data that you get from there. You can see on here we've got the y-axis, which is going up from the bottom to the top, or the top to the bottom, whichever way you want to look at it. You can display this on the left, you can display it on the right, there you go, or you could display it on both. Up to you again how you want to do that. Maybe you want to have it on both so it's easy for your eye to reference what you're actually looking at. And then you can see this little box here is basically showing you the information that you can see over here. So we can see price is the top chart, weight of money is the middle chart, and volume is the bottom. So you can see there's a lot of information that is contained in there, but it's laid out in that format here. So each one of these sections is part of that individual chart itself. So there is no limit to how many of these you display. So you could actually add a function, a parameter within here, and when you do that, you need to look down to the chart configuration underneath. So you can see we've got price, weight of money, volume, price. If I click save here, you can see it goes price, weight of money, volume, price. Now one thing you can see is that the price chart here is pretty big and out of proportion to the other two. So maybe we're going to mess around and do a couple of clever things here. So you can see here the chart height ratio is 3. If we change that to 1, you'll see what happens. Can you see it's shrunk it? And if you change it to 5, you can see it's expanded it. So adjusting the height of the chart, or the ratio in relation to everything else, is something that you would probably want to do fairly early on when you're designing your chart. Here you can see it says what is the chart's type, so you can see it's price, volume, weight of money, MACD, relative strength. So let's actually change this to relative strength. That'll be an interesting one to look at. Again, I'm going to click save to put that information in there. And there are a number of other things that you can nominate within here. In fact, if I change the ratio to quite a large one, this will expand what you can see here. So you can see you can plot horizontal lines, and you can plot vertical lines as well, or you can have none, which is what we've got at the moment. But if I put the vertical lines back in, you'll see those, and the horizontal line, you'll see those. Time labels, the time labels, as the name suggests, running across the bottom. So it's traditional to have the time labels actually on the very last chart that you have here. So you can see we've actually got them plotting on the top chart. So if I go over here, the top chart is price. If I remove time labels and save, you can see that gives us a little bit more screen space, and then we can actually have the time labels at the bottom of the last chart, which we have just told it we want to be RSI, relative strength. A clever thing that you can do here as well is you can actually add a second column. So what we're saying is here we have one column containing 1, 2, 3, 4 charts. 1, 2, 3, 4 charts. If we want to, we could actually put the relative strength in a second column, and I'll show you if I click save what this does. Boom! Suddenly you have lots more information contained within one chart. But I hear you saying, hold on a second, Peter, it's all out of proportion. We've got the price chart here, we've got the relative strength, but it's taking up all the room across both these charts. That's annoying. So what we can do to solve that is, why don't we actually add in more information on the right hand side column, on the second column. So if I click plus again, you can see it adds in a new area. We can say second column, thank you very much. Click save, and then you can see more information appears over there. But we've already got price over here, so do we want to do something more funky, or do we want to replicate what we can see on the left? For the purposes of this video, why don't I replicate what we see on the left? So if I go in here and select weight of money, then click save, then you can see we have a blank weight of money chart. We will come back to this in a second. And at the bottom of this one we have volume. So why don't I add volume over on this side? So if we add volume in here, tick second column, and then click save. Boom, there we go. Now you can see that these charts are misaligned. There's something not quite right going on here. And that's because of the ratio that we've set on each of these individual charts. So if we go back up to price here, you can see it said price, chart, height ratio 3. If we click on the first one in the second column over here, you can see the chart height ratio is 6. So if we change that to 3, and then we need to look at the weight of money was 1. So we'll change the weight of money to 1. And then the volume on the left hand side here was a chart height ratio of 1, which is there. And if we go on to volume on this column, we can set that to 1 as well. And therefore you can see that they're all aligned, apart from they're not quite aligned, because you can see the time is not correctly placed on here. So if we just get rid of time on the RSI and we get rid of time on the weight of money and save that, we are almost in perfect alignment, because of course we removed time on these set of charts. So let's add it back into the volume on the left hand side. So you can see price, weight of money, volume, price, weight of money, volume. Click on that one and we'll add the time labels back in again. There you go. So now that we have all of those charts up there, we just need to make them look a little bit prettier than they currently are. And you'll notice that I've got shading on the back of the weight of money charts that we have here. So let me show you how to do the shading and how that would work. So if we look at the weight of money over here, you can see we've got relative strength up here, weight of money, volume, and these are the sets of variables and chart settings that we put on the right hand side. What we need to do is do something a bit more interesting with the weight of money. So what I'm going to do down here is, this is what this data series is, it's the weight of money. I'm going to do filled from top, and I can choose whatever color that I like on there, but if I save, you'll notice, if you keep your eye on this chart here, you'll notice what impact that has. So can you see? It's suddenly blue on the top part of the chart. So if we wanted to make a look it like this one on the left, the way that I would do that is I would actually add another component within this data series right here. So if I click on plus, you can see it adds in another weight of money area, but this time what we're going to do is we're going to do filled from base. So we won't select blue this time, we will select another color, and we can go in there and we will select a sort of pinkish color-ish of some sort. If I click save, there you go. You can see that we have created something that is visually more appealing than what we had before. And you can also see we've got a line in here that's straddling across 50. So where did that come from? How do we do that? If I go into here and I click plus again, you can see on the data series type, you can actually see here we've got moving average, exponential moving average, constant line. So if I select a constant line and I set the position to 50, we will do it, I haven't decided what color we'll do this in, we'll do it in black. We'll make it quite a thick line. And if I save this, can you see something immediately on here? Can you see that we can't actually see it? And that is because we've got weight of money, constant line. Now if I click this, can you see we still have a problem here? I've brought it to the top, but this doesn't exist. Where's it gone? What's happened to it? It's vanished. Well, if we look at the weight of money here, you can see you can make the chart settings slightly more opaque. So if I change it to 125, making that slightly opaque there, And if I change the other weight of money to 125 as well, boom, boom, there's your line. So we're making the colors see-through and allowing us to do that, and we're placing it uppermost as well. So I'm going to change this from a solid line to a dash because I think that will be more helpful, and there you go. You can see we've actually created two opaque colors, one filled from the top, one from the bottom, and we have also put a dashed line within here as well. So, that's pretty handy. That's pretty helpful. At the bottom of the volume here, we could shade that as well. So, let's do the same thing here. What we're going to do is we're going to put the display style as filled from base, and we're going to save that. And then you can see that looks a little bit more appealing, as you can see from there. If you really wanted to be a little bit funky, what you could actually do is you could do the same thing that we did on the weight of money and fill it from the top. We obviously want to choose a different color here, and then you can see you can actually apply like a background to it if you so wish. It's entirely up to you if you want to do that. You may find that that's distracting, annoying, and that you're not particularly keen on doing that. So it's up to you whether you want to do that. You don't have to select a color. You can actually just make it white. It's entirely up to you how you want to do it, but of course you're losing the grid lines on here, so you probably want to not have anything there, so that you can have the grid lines in effect. These are just little things that you may want to fiddle around with and understand. But in the same way that we applied background colors to the charts here, you could do that on the price or the relative strength index. It's up to you how you want to do it. So, as an example, if we go to the left-hand side chart here and we click on price, why don't we do the price filled from the top? And you'll be able to see exactly what happens from here. So if we do the data series type as price, you can see here, we can choose the back, the lay, or the last traded price. And we can also do line, candlestick, filled from base, filled from top. So if I do filled from top, and we click save, you'll see what happens there. And then I could actually add in the other back price here. I'm just going to move that next to the other one so that we've got a point of reference there. And what I'm going to do here as well is we're going to select the back price again, and I'm going to do filled from base. But of course we want to select, if you have the same color, that may or may not work for you depending upon how you want to view it, but you can see here that we've put a slight variation on what we're planning to see. But the only reason for doing this is just to show you that you can do that. Typically you probably wouldn't want to do that. It depends exactly how you want to set these things up. So I'm going to delete that. We'll go back to where we were before, and if I go back to here, I'm going to show you how to bring that back. It was on a candlestick. I'm going to change it to a line chart. There we go. And you can see other settings that we have here. The line style, it could be a dash or a dot or a dash or a dash dash dot dot, or however you want to do it. And you can also make the line a little bit thicker as well. You can play around with these settings depending upon exactly what you want to see and how you want to see it. So it's up to you how you want to design the charts. They're incredibly flexible in that respect. And once you've done all of those things, obviously we're deriving these charts from the data. So in fact, you can actually wind backwards and forwards and have a look at data and examine it in much more detail if you so wish. If we look at the price chart, sometimes it's handy to have a trend line on there. So if we want to do another plot within there, what we can actually do is we can go into this section here determines the layout basically. And then under each layout you have all of the detail, all of the indicators, all of the features, all of the little bits of things that you want to do with it. So if we're going to add a trend line, what is the trend line on? And the trend line is on the price, so we will add it onto the price chart and in the container of the price section. So we select price, which is this chart over here, and then we can actually go into here and click the plus, and you can see here that you've got the main features within there. But if you go down to here, you can see exactly what you're plotting, but on the top line here you can see you've got other options such as highest traded price, lowest traded price, parabolic SAR, and trend line, which is the one that we want. So we want to see what the trend is. So let's select that. And if I click save again, then you can see it starts to plot the trend line. But can you see it's only plotting a tiny bit of it? That's a bit weird. Why is it doing that? Well, if you look here, the width of the chart is 120 data points. It was 120 data points when it took up the whole chart, and it's now 120 data points when it takes up a smaller chart. It's just changed the resolution. So for the trend line to match the entire chart, we need to change that to 120 as well. There you go. Now, a thin yellow line isn't a very good visual indicator of a trend. So let's make it a bit more garish. We will choose red. How does that look? That looks better, but it still doesn't stand out. So let me increase the width of it to 5. That's a little bit better. That's saying this is going down. And then I can actually change it to a dash, for example, so it doesn't interfere visually with what we're seeing elsewhere. So let's change that as well. So can you see, bit by bit, slowly, you begin to bring up more and more information and charts and data, and it begins to look more appealing and so on and so forth. But the process of actually building your own chart is a personal thing. I'm not going to necessarily recommend to you any one particular group of settings or another, but what I'm saying to you is there is an awful lot of flexibility in there, and therefore you should take a chart and mess around with it, create different views of the market. Use all of the options in here. There are so many in here, it would take me an hour or two probably to explain all of them. So what I suggest you do is to actually just go in and have a play with each of those settings so that you can become familiar with them. There are so many of them. But in essence, you see that we've taken a standard chart, we've messed around with it endlessly, added new features, removed some, made it a 2-column chart. We've done an awful lot with it, and you can do exactly the same as well. Fire up BetAngel, click on the advanced chart, and have a good play, and you'll find there'll be all sorts of interesting information and data coming off of the advanced charts. So as I detailed earlier on in the video as well, there's no limit to the number of charts that you can use. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to close the advanced chart editor, and we're going to get rid of that, and we're just going to have a bit of fun by bringing up more and more charts on the screen. So if I take the screen and put it over here, in fact if I switch off the advanced or the enhanced ladder with the advanced charting, then what I can do is I can put that chart over there. See, there's no reason why you couldn't do that if you wanted to, but of course that's why we created the enhanced ladder, so that you didn't have to do that. But nonetheless, we will just have a little bit of fun. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to spawn another chart. The way to do that is I will just click on the advanced chart setting. In fact, that is that one. So if I click on this one, this will spawn another chart. And what I can actually do here is I can change back to JamJar. You can see the selection here as JamJar, but do a different chart on JamJar. So you can see all of a sudden we actually have 2 views of exactly the same selection. You know, that's pretty handy. And I can actually decide what I want it to plot. So you can see there I'm getting it to plot multiple bits of information on that individual runner. Now if I wanted to, I can actually spawn another chart. So we will go in and spawn a chart on Caledonian Laird. Oops. If you click on this icon here, this will make the chart always on top. Because the ladder's dynamic, when you move over it, it may hide your chart. So if you get that, click always on top when you're constructing your screen. So you can see we now have 3 different advanced charts, 2 on JamJar, 1 on Caledonian Laird. So you could actually spawn many versions of this if you so wished. It would be perfectly possible to spawn a big chunk of different charts on exactly the same runner if you wish, or on different runners. So we have chosen to do JamJar here with 3 different charts. There's no reason why you couldn't have Caledonian Laird with 2 different types of charts and so on and so forth. There's no limit on the number of charts that you wish to do. Now obviously you could end up with information overload, but it's up to you how many charts you have open at any one particular time, and on each of them you can actually go back and zoom in and out and have a good look around and say, oh, what happened here, what happened there, and so on and so forth. So it does contain very valuable chunks of information. And you also have this flexibility of looking at many different versions of the chart, updating at different frequencies, different speeds, any variation on the number of charts that you can look at and the information that you're looking at. You don't have to look at it all in one go. You could use one to confirm the other. But once you've created all of the charts that you so wish, then you can actually go into the settings option and save the screen layout. So you could call this my mega chart layout, and then basically that layout is available for you at the touch of a button, and the charting will remember all of those positions, and all of that information is available to you. Now, if you've got specific settings that you want to change as well, why not go in to the settings and save those settings as my mega chart layout. So in fact, you can see here on the screen we have my mega chart layout settings and my mega chart layout profile, which basically every time I click on there it will transport me back to the charts exactly as they are set up. So even if you don't have the charts available for you immediately, you could say, you know what, I'm just going to quickly check the charts, select it from the drop down menu, and they will magically appear in front of you. And if you come to the office, what you will notice is that I actually have a chart setup of 6 different charts displaying the market simultaneously, and that's so that I can look at the runners with my favored charts and then start to spot characteristics and trends within those charts, and then I can zoom in and focus on the horse that I'm most interested in trading, or the item that I'm most interested in trading. But anyway, I hope that's given you a really good summary of the advanced charting. I know there's a lot of information there, but simply because of all of the flexibility of the tool, it's worth explaining it all and allowing you to have a good mess around with it. Anyway, I hope that's been useful for you.
If you're interested in learning more about BetAngel, visit betangel.com and download a free trial today.